Good morning, people. Today I'm going to speak to you about my three project ideas and my main project idea called Core. The first idea we're going to look at is the idea in the top left corner called I Am a Superhero. And it is basically an individual who goes to school who eventually discovers that he has superpowers. And very similar to, if anybody has seen Man of Steel, this individual is testing the limits of what exactly it is that he can do. This involves a lot of visual effects, heavy lightning, beautiful kind of, landscapes, bright colors, stuff like that. The next idea, if you look at the bottom of the screen here, is called Kangeta. I literally made that word up, but this is more of a military style action film inspired by G.I. Joe and A-Team, and this will involve, as you can see down here, a lot of weaponry, a lot of fighting, high technology, things along them lines. This is very prop heavy, lots of uniforms and things like that. But yeah, that's that idea. And the final idea, which is what I mentioned before, is called Core. And as you can see on here, what's involved is very similar to the first idea, I Am a Superhero. There's a superhero vibe. There's good versus evil, and very much like the rest of them, it's an action film. However, this one is a lot more heavy on visual effects. As you can see, there's an explosion in the corner of that thing there. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? And it's also about groups, and it's fairly not political, but there's groups and there's reasons as to why they're divided, and yeah, that's basically it. But you'll notice that all three of these ideas are related to visual effects, action, and some form of intensity or excitement. That's because I wish to basically create films, short action films, that cater to those, let's call them elements. Moving on, just going to tell you a bit more about Project Core. So the current synopsis that we have, there's a lot more to it, but we only have about 20 minutes to, show what I'd like to show in the film. But at this current point, it's about two clans or two groups, and one group has stolen something of great value from another. The group that has robbed from the other group is called the Ekra Circle, and the group that has been robbed from is called the Red Circle. And now it's up to somebody called Chris Saber and his friend Ronnie to stop the individuals who have basically robbed them. It caters to specifically males of 16 to 25 of all social classes, and people who want a little bit of escapism, which is delving into psychographic. So a little more about the characters. So as I was saying before, Chris Saber, he's the main character. He's 20 years old, and he has very low tolerance to, a lot of things in general, but when he's not aggravated, he's very cheerful. And, pretty fun guy to be around. As I mentioned before, there's action involved in this, and each character basically has their own tool or weapon or something that basically helps them to operate, and this is where I get a chance to use a lot of visual effects and show off what I can do with supposedly, prop design, perhaps even, depending on how things are looking with budget. Next, moving on, the villain, his name is Hans, and he's 21 years old, and he's a little mentally unstable. He kind of swings between playful and extremely aggressive, and the weapon that he uses is a magic wand that turns into a bow staff. If any of you don't know what a bow staff is, it's literally just a long stick. Has anybody seen X-Men? The guy with the stick. It's basically that. So yeah, like I said before, it's a short action film, supernatural superhero drama, good versus evil, and the setting is outside of Stalybridge, just on the outskirts of Stalybridge, and it's in an early morning. Yeah, so the way things are going to look, it's going to be very, like I said before, very colourful, but at the same time going to have some dark shadows and very heavy on visual effects. Now, the inspirations that I'm going to be looking at here is Donnie McMillan and Monty Hoon, who unfortunately died in 2015. Monty Hoon is actually an animator. He's an animator of the series, which I'm quite sure a lot of you would know, called Ruby, I Don't Shut Up About It. But yeah, his action scenes are absolutely fantastic, and just the way of how consistent and how well it flows. I am aware that this is animation, but I wish to achieve something that's very similar to that level of fluency in, action, and just the way that the characters will respond to each other in combat. Next, we're looking at Donnie McMillan, and he is a director who created a parody of a very well-known anime series known as Dragon Ball Z. And I'll show you later on, he works a lot on, visual effects and, just really extreme explosions and lights and a lot of beautiful stuff. So I want to be able to do something that's very similar to the two, but whilst also having my own style in the show. So the kind of research that we're going to be doing is content analysis. So that's, looking into content that these directors and animators have done, and really slowing down what we're looking at to kind of break apart and figure out just exactly how things work. So that's one of the main sources of primary research. I'm not going to go through the rest, is experimenting, stuff like that. But with secondary research is going to be YouTube tutorials and learning how to do certain visual effects and stuff like that. I am aware that there's going to be a lot of times where I'm not going to quite get what I want. So looking around for additional assistance is most probably what I will be doing. On top of that, whether it's with the fight sequence, with the visual effects, the whole lot, I'm going to need a lot of help. So what will I need? So something I forgot to mention before was that one of the objects in this show is called a God core, and it's basically a crystal, which is the reason for that crystal constantly appearing in this slideshow. The object that's been stolen, or that has supposedly been stolen, is a God core crystal, and one of the main things that we are going to need is to find some sort of crystal, something that's fairly big and heavy. I am aware that they are fairly expensive, but I am a bargain hunter, so I will find what I'm looking for. So next, going to need a powerful computer, Apple Macs obviously, powerful software obviously, sword props, rings, a briefcase, which I already have. I actually found one in I think it was a second-hand shop a good couple of months ago, and that's kind of where I got the idea of what the plot might be. And down here will be personalized costumes. Something that our tutor David really wanted was to see some interesting characters. So I thought, how about we give them a bit of a look and really try and make these guys memorable. So personalized costumes is something that I'll be focusing on. Next up, our schedule. So for the first 4 weeks, we are going to be focusing mainly on planning and planning alone. Of course, we're going to be doing, research and stuff like that on top of it, but that's just the main event of those first 4 weeks. There will be rehearsals going on top of that. In fact, there's rehearsals going on at this moment in preparation for this, just to make sure that things are on point. And then for the next 4 weeks on top of that is production. So this is mainly focusing on making sure that we have all the cast and making sure they know exactly what's going on, what they need to do, who the characters are, acting, things along them lines, so that towards the end of that 4 weeks we can actually start shooting. Post-production, you already know how it goes, the heavy visual effects, and there's going to be a lot more research and a lot more discussing practical skill elements in this part of the project. So expect a lot of hefty text in my diary, whoever's going to be marking it. And finally, presentation, where we're supposed to be, showing off what we're doing. The diary here, there's a diary here in a little more detail. You'll notice that down here things are a little more blank and a little more, less dense with text and, tasks that I have to do. And that's because I am aware that my circumstances are going to eventually change, and I am preparing for that. Next, so issues. Getting your hands on good music, that's very hard to do these days, and to do it for free is even harder. I considered trying to get somebody to make some music for me, but I highly doubt that I'll be able to find somebody to create the kind of music that I'm looking for in the amount of time that we have. So yeah, that's one of the main issues. A warrant for recording in public. Licensing to use props, and also the extremely low budget of 100 plus pounds, or specifically £170 is what I'm currently running with. Now, most of these issues, like it says in the middle here, can just be dealt with by simply just doing some research, speaking to a few people here and there, just basically networking, really branching out. So it's not too big of a deal. So yeah, back to, the reason why do I want to do this? Why do I want to create this kind of show? And as you can see in the picture, it's for emotional intensity, that excitement, the kind of feel you get when you watch something that really makes you go, oh, that was so cool, that kind of thing. So I want to try and create that kind of emotion for people. Because that's what people usually look for when it comes to action. They want to find something really cool. Obviously, I want to develop my visual effects skills. This is going to be very challenging, which is why I've given myself a solid 4 weeks to edit and stuff like that. So yeah, peaking my management skills. See, now something that's been very common for, forever is managing time and managing money, and, just staying on top of things in general. I would like to make sure that isn't the case this time. Of course, we're people, we're going to slip up every now and then, but I'd like to make sure that I can make recoveries faster than I usually would. And yeah, finally, the final reason as to why I'm doing it is because I'd like it to be a stepping stone onto what I'd like to do in the future. And down here you can see the little recorder here. I will be recording, I'll be recording in my diary using audio alone, sometimes some video, maybe a bit of the two, maybe I'll make a little montage, something along them lines, just so that, people can have a proper look at what exactly it is that we're doing and how we're doing it. Obviously with a little bit of background commentary by yours truly. So yeah. What if I told you that if you work hard, you can earn more money? That's also another one of my motives. Money. So, obviously, doing this project is going to force me to be at the best of my game. And by doing that, then I can be at my best in competition for the future and getting work, or even if I decided to work for myself. Just before I wrap things up, I just want to give you a good idea of what kind of thing that I'm trying to go for in terms of action. Bear in mind, I'm not trying to go for something that's extreme as this. The budget for this was £5,000. I doubt I'll be able to get my hands on that kind of money in the time that we have. But if you just have a look.
I'm not done looking yet.
Come on. Let's just sit over.
So I'm pretty sure you have a good idea of what I'm trying to go for. Like I said, not as extreme, but you better know that I will try my damnedest. I mean my best to make that happen. Thank you. Hello. Oh, sorry. Questions?
You know, with your cast, you said you want to, you want like two armies going against each other.
Two groups, yes.
How many like, characters?
The current characters that we're looking at we have right now is Hans, his two disciples, Chris Saber, which is the main character, his best friend, and then I plan on having another individual show up in the story later on. So in total 6 characters, not including the extras, which will probably be about 3. So yeah, 9 in total. In summary. So yeah, any more questions?
Do you have like any sort of like contingency plan? Because in case like your artists fail.
What do you mean by contingency plan?
Like a backup plan in case like this just doesn't work out, people are failing you and you just like stress.
Do you mean in terms of casting, rehearsing?
In terms of adjusting your idea in case that's not going to happen.
Adjusting my idea, yes. See, now the way that I've structured the script is so that fights can take place. The way that I've structured the script is in a way so that fights can take place very separate from each other. So, for example, the very first fight is a one-on-one. The next fight after that is a two-on-one. After that, then it's a more or less free-for-all, if that makes sense. Yeah, sounds messy, I know. But we can cut things down. If anything, less characters might even make things less complicated. But the way that the fights have been structured is so that if something goes wrong, we can take the entire fight scene out and the story can still run the way it's supposed to.
Mickylle, does it matter if it's a story or is it more about demonstrating your skill in visual effects and in managing an action sequence?
It's mainly about demonstrating my ability to, produce, direct, things along them lines. However, something that I haven't spent a lot of time with doing is creating a story. So that is also like a side plan, if that makes sense. Trying to make an interesting story. But yeah. Any more questions?
How long do you plan to make it?
20 minutes long. 20 minutes long. Yeah, we've actually already made a start. The first fight scene is almost complete.
Right. Have you already done lots of experimentation in these kind of effects and in choreographing action sequences?
With choreographing, not a lot. However, not too long ago, it was a year ago actually, that was quite a while, I did already create a fight scene of my own. And I have a very good idea of what exactly, how I'd like to make things go, if that makes sense. It's not the choreography, but it's actually just the way that the camera works that I'm currently having a problem with from what I've looked at in the past.
Yeah, because you've got to choreograph the actors and choreograph
And the cameraman.
cameras.
Don't worry, we have a crew.
Yeah, but you've got to figure out exactly where everything's going to be all the time. Cranes and this group, if you're using a crane, how you're going to manage all that within the sequence.
Don't worry, I've got a crew. I've got a cast and I've also got a camera crew. I had a couple of people come up to me and ask if they could, help with managing what we were doing. It was actually the same people who helped me with the last fight scene that we did. So you can expect a lot of commitment from them.
What have you got the skills?
Yes.
Remember the edit that you showed me at the library?
Which edit?
The one with the visual effects.
The visual effects, yes.
Are you willing to show that to the class right now?
You know what? Yeah, why not? It doesn't have any audio with it. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time. It's something that I'd put on the back burner for I think it was about 6 months, because, visual effects take a long time to do. So there's no audio with it, but this is just to give you guys an idea of what I was capable of doing a while back. So bear in mind there's no audio. In fact, do we have time? Louise?
Just put it up, doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, I feel like we need some background audio. We'll leave it. Bear in mind, this was shot last year, so obviously my cinematography and directing has improved significantly since then. The shoot day or the editing? Editing took me about a week to do, and that was with me trying to figure out, obviously particle world effect, color grading. I wasn't too great on that just yet.
And that's a minute.
Yeah, there was, how many effects? 1, 2, so there was the circle, there was the fire, there was the lightning, and then there was the shield towards the end, and the arrow. The arrow was very easy.
And that body frame.
That was easy too. It was just a case of masking and putting a warp effect and colouring it green. But yeah, about 5 effects learned, with a total of about a week's worth of editing, give or take a few days. It was something that I put off for a while, so yeah.
So how long have you given yourself for filming, and how much have you given yourself for post?
I have given myself a week and a half for filming, bearing in mind that we would have already rehearsed the fight sequence a good number of times. Like I said before, we've been rehearsing this month and also last month, and we plan on also rehearsing next month too. So it's just about making sure that these guys are getting it perfect, so that all we need to worry about is the camera angles. Anything else? No. Sweet. Thank you.